Amaterasu was introduced as a mysterious but powerful jutsu. The first time we see its power on display isn't really us seeing it, just adding to the mystery. Kisame and Itachi are trapped in Jiraiya's toad mouth, and Itachi uses it to blow up the toad mouth and wall. But after reading this, I was looking at Jiraiya's dialogue about it, how he had never seen it before, and that Itachi was just so strong for being able to break out of the toad mouth, with it clearly indicating that he had just underestimated him. What did Amaterasu actually do? For a jutsu that's hyped up so much even in the data books, it doesn't appear a lot in the story, and when it does appear, the display is, well, less than desirable, I'll say that. So today I'm going to go through every interaction where the Amaterasu was used and determine if this jutsu is even worth all the hype it received. Before getting into that though, if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it as it helps my channel out a ton. Before we get started talking about the interactions with Amaterasu in the manga, let's talk about the jutsu itself, since it receives a fair bit of hype from both the characters in the manga and the data book. But I'll read the data book explanation first, just so we can get a little baseline for the jutsu. The ones reflected in these eyes turn to ash, a black world-destroying conflagration that scorches all on heaven and earth. The Uchiha clan, originally significant as those with the fans which can manipulate fire, traditionally specialize in fire release jutsu, but there is a legendary jutsu unknown outside the clan. This is the Amaterasu. The appearance of these flames are jet black. The high temperature is like the sun, and one time touching it is the last. It is said that it is named after the goddess of the sun, as it continues to burn for 7 days and 7 nights. However, the Mangekyo Sharingan is necessary to activate this jutsu, and for this reason, there are not many who have learned this jutsu. Therefore, the details of this jutsu are yet unrevealed. The black flames that only the owner of the Mangekyo Sharingan can control are even able to instantly break through the side of a rock toad who breathes fire. Jiraiya, who has mastered many jutsu, did not know of the existence of Amaterasu. What he does understand is the power of the suspicious conflagration. If you don't know what conflagration means, I didn't when I originally read this. It basically just means great fire. The passage is basically saying Jiraiya, despite not knowing how the jutsu works, understand how powerful it is, which is probably because of Itachi destroying the giant toad mouth, considering Jiraiya didn't get hit with the attack himself. As I'm sure everyone knows, this jutsu was eventually inherited / awakened by Sasuke, and it pairs with his other ability, the Kagutsuchi, which lets him bend and shape the flames of Amaterasu. Since Sasuke and Itachi have it, and Sasuke's power gradually grows, we'll be assuming the Amaterasu grows with it, since it just runs off of his chakra. So to be clear on what that means, Sasuke's Amaterasu is Sasuke's and Itachi's is Itachi's, so we'll be splitting them up into 2 different sections, starting with Itachi since he is not only the shortest, but he introduced the jutsu to us initially. I've already talked about Itachi's first use of this enough in this video already, that being him escaping Jiraiya, and really no more can be said about it that's like relevant. I mean, yeah, like Naruto tried to touch it and Jiraiya told him no, but that's not really anything. The second time Itachi used this jutsu does not come until his fight with Sasuke, and I'm not joking. I for some reason thought that he had used it at points between these 2 times, but apparently I was just wrong. Now, the big takeaway from this fight is Itachi's chakra consumption improvement on it, because after running away from Jiraiya, he seems to mention that the Amaterasu was the greater chakra cost out of all the jutsu he had used that day. He says not only the Tsukuyomi, but I was forced to use the Amaterasu as well, seeming like it's kind of the greater jutsu, at least in terms of chakra cost there. But like I said, yeah, the big takeaway from the Sasuke versus Itachi fight is the fact that he improved the chakra consumption on it greatly. He can shoot at least 4 of them while already being fatigued. And he also has pretty good accuracy with it, considering Obito says he used Amaterasu on Sasuke to burn off the wing that was sitting on his shoulder, the last one left by Orochimaru. And that was Itachi's target, and he completely burned that off without harming the rest of Sasuke. We also get to see just how much hotter it is than normal fire here. Sasuke is literally overpowering Itachi's fireball, and Itachi is nerfed here. He's greatly fatigued, and he's clearly holding back. But the data book does say that Sasuke is just clearly pumping more chakra into his fire than Itachi is. And I don't think Sasuke having more chakra than Itachi, especially in curse mark stage, is really too crazy, even though Itachi is just overall stronger than Sasuke. But that's neither here nor there. You don't have to agree with that or disagree with that. What's important is the Amaterasu burns Sasuke's fire completely away. He literally just takes his fire completely out of the fight. And it spreads wildly. Like, it spreads all around the Uchiha hideout just off of the few shots Itachi missed on Sasuke. Funnily enough though, it also sits on top of trees. Though in the same scene, the Konoha 11 make it seem like they can't just run through it. So I have like a little headcanon to like explain this away, and you can just tell me if you agree with it or not. So the mechanic would be, maybe the Amaterasu knows what its target is and it won't burn anything else unless it's hitting its target. Meaning maybe the Konoha 11 moving it out of the way was just a precaution rather than needed to happen. But I mean, that's just pure conjecture. It's just a theory. It's not really implied. It's just something I came up with, like, oh, maybe that's why it was sitting on top of trees, because fire style should just burn those trees away, especially something that's supposed to be as hot as Amaterasu. Now, the next thing is Itachi seals Amaterasu in Sasuke's eye and uses it to hit Obito. So they're basically two separate things here that I wanted to touch on individually. So this is a new mechanic. We knew Itachi could use sealing jutsu because he helps Pain and everyone else in the Akatsuki seal the Biju inside of the Geto statue. But this is different. He literally seals his Mangekyo Sharingan in Sasuke while almost dead, low on chakra, and with just 2 fingers. It would be different if only the Amaterasu was in Sasuke's eye, but it seemed like his entire eye was there for at least a second anyway. We know Sasuke obviously didn't keep that until he got Itachi's eyes actually. And he hit Obito with it. And whether you think Obito used Izanagi or Kamui to escape, it doesn't really matter since it's basically the same in the end, a useless attack. Obito got away from it. I'll say it gives Itachi some more credit if Obito used Izanagi, as it would have cost him an eye, and we know Obito has a wall of Sharingan, so it's not out of the question that he used it and just got a new eye, which would be the one he used Izanagi on when he was fighting Conan, but yeah, we kind of can't prove it. I'm just getting at the idea that regardless of whatever one it is, Obito made the Amaterasu useless. That Amaterasu attack ended up being useless in the end. And the next time Itachi used it is when he summoned as an Edo and he burns the animal paths. Now, this is to be noted, he also burns Nagato, but the summons disappear, and as far as I'm aware, we don't ever see those summons again. We don't ever see the dog again, and we don't ever see the bird again. But to be fair to both of those summons, no one who summons the animal path animals ever appears again. Madara and Obito supposedly can do it, but they never appear in order to do it, if you get what I mean. To say that those animals died rather than just were sent off to the other summon dimension or whatever, since I think it is implied somewhere that the animal path summons are immortal, and I don't know where that skin is. I've just heard of it before. I don't want to say it's completely wrong or it doesn't exist. I'm just saying, to be fair, we don't see those animals again because someone who summons them does not appear again. And then Nagato just sort of pushes it off of his body. The last time Itachi uses it, technically this is tied to Sasuke a little bit, but the statement should be about Itachi because Kabuto says the greatest offense can also be used as the greatest defense, which obviously would be talking about Itachi's Amaterasu, since he shouldn't know that Sasuke has Amaterasu at this point. They also use it on Kidomaru's webs, but the webs are shown rebuilt in the next panel, so I don't really get what it was used for there. But let's just quickly wrap up this section. I've come up with something called a useful counter, and Itachi's Amaterasu on the useful counter gets a 3.5 out of 5. It was clearly useful in helping escape from Jiraiya, clearly useful for what he needed it to do in the fight with Sasuke, was not useful in taking down Obito or keeping him away from Sasuke, was useful in getting rid of the animal path summons, and I gave it half a point for clearing the cave with it, since Sasuke low-key was implied by Kabuto that Itachi should be able to do that as well. So he gets a 3.5 out of 5 since he used it a total of 5 times when they shot it against Kidomaru's webs. But let's move on to Sasuke's uses of the Amaterasu. Now, Sasuke uses this a lot, and I don't have the time to sit here and go through all 20 times that he uses the jutsu, so I'm going to basically rapid fire these off and then give context to the ones that were actually useful and not. First time we see Sasuke use Amaterasu is when he used it to hit B. I'm going to save my actual opinion for this until the useful counter section of the video so I can explain it a bit more. There is a bit of a hype statement after this when Sasuke is recovering, where he thinks that he has the powers to take down Konoha now after awakening Amaterasu. He uses it on Raikage A, which he misses one and it hits a samurai. He tries to stop A with the shield of it, fails there. And then he fails again because A was going to just dive on top of him even with the Amaterasu spikes on the Susanoo. He uses it on Gaara and gets it blocked 3 different times. He uses it on Danzo and gets one of his Sharingan down at least. It seemed like he was going to use it on Kakashi here but didn't. He uses it to burn a lot of Zetsu after obtaining EMS. I went over this next use already, but where Kabuto calls it the greatest offensive jutsu or whatever, then the time where they burned Kidomaru's webs I also already went over. That brings us to Sasuke on the battlefield, and he uses it a lot here in the 4th war. On the Ten Tails clone when he's standing beside Naruto, that one was effective. On the Ten Tails itself with Naruto's Rasen Shuriken. This example is kind of special since Sasuke claims to be able to burn the entire Ten Tails, and there may be some merit to his claim since it does scream out in pain a bit. However, the Ten Tails just globs a piece of itself off in the end, so doesn't really do anything. He uses it again on Obito, but then Madara stops it with the rods he put in Obito's arm. He uses it again on Jubito when running at him, but Jubito just blocks it and calls Sasuke dumb for using it at that point in time. It is just to be noted though, this might have just been for setup, so you don't have to count it against Sasuke if you don't want to, but yeah, there is that. He then uses it again in the next scene to combine with Naruto's Rasen Shuriken on Jubito after the Flying Raijin reciprocal round robin. He uses it again on Madara after he's revived, but Madara just takes his clothes off, which is actually the biggest L for Amaterasu I came across while doing this video. Madara has long hair that goes completely down his back. The Amaterasu lights his entire back up, but Madara just takes his clothes off and it gave him complete immunity to the jutsu. It's actually insane how much of an L that is. Even while the Amaterasu is on him, Madara just says that Sasuke is just a brat that just doesn't come near his level. Now, I will be fair here, and I'll mention the possibility that Madara absorbed the Amaterasu here, since even though he doesn't have his Rinnegan, we see he still has the ability to absorb chakra through his skin when he takes it from Hashirama, and then a little bit later when he does it to a random shinobi with his Kyuubi chakra. And the Amaterasu does sit on his skin here for at least a little while. Sasuke uses it on Kaguya after this, but to be fair, it doesn't work here either. His next use is successful though, saving him and Naruto from Kaguya's ice realm. The anime has Sasuke use Amaterasu on base Naruto and his clones, but this isn't there in the manga, although it was successful for Sasuke in the anime, getting rid of the clones. Using it on base Naruto though was completely unsuccessful as he literally just globbed it off with Kurama Chakra. His last use of this in Naruto Part 2 or Naruto Shippuden is him powering his Chidori with it in the final clash with Naruto, but seeing as he meant to kill Naruto here, but only took off an arm with it, and the fact that it was aided by the Chidori, I'm only giving this a 0.25 when we get to the useful counter. And now we're in the final stretch here. The last 2 times Sasuke uses Amaterasu are in Boruto, which is when he's fighting Jigen, which Jigen just absorbs it and says it won't work on him, and then when he's fighting Momoshiki possessing Boruto's body, to which he just uses a shadow clone and completely evades it. Okay, so our useful counter is going to be a lot higher on Sasuke since he uses the jutsu so much, a total of 20 times. Out of all 20, he gets a 6.25 out of 20. And if we put this down to the same scale as we gave Itachi, Sasuke's Amaterasu has a 1.56 out of 5 useful counter, making it virtually useless. I give him a 0.5 in the B example, since it did get them out of the line of fire of B, but it failed at actually capturing him, and B had already substituted, so you could sort of say he like forfeited the fight, but it still doesn't count since Sasuke's intended use of it was to capture B. I also gave him a 0.25 in the Naruto Chidori Amaterasu Rasengan clash. Also, if you give Sasuke the use of Amaterasu in the anime, this score slightly goes up to a whopping 1.7 out of 5. I give him a 0.5 since it only got rid of the clones and the actual Naruto brushed it off. But all in all, you can see what people get at when they say the Amaterasu gets extremely hyped up, but then it seems like it's completely useless. The Amaterasu never actually kills anyone. I didn't even mention that in the video. It never actually kills anyone. It gets on this one samurai at the 5 Kage summit, and then later on, the samurai is still just burning, and Tamari uses wind style to just take all of his clothes off. To be fair to Sasuke though, he does cripple the Raikage, and something I didn't mention about Itachi because it only happens in the anime and I was mostly going off of the manga for the entire video, is that he does burn Yagura with it pretty greatly. But that's pretty much all for the video. If you like the video, obviously leave a like on it, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and have a nice day.